Alright, so welcome to the CSX Bennett subdivision layout. Finally picked a name for this layout. I have not been super good about doing update videos. I wanted to do one for the end of 2024 with a nice clean slate, things tidied up and organized, and I could show you guys the plan and all this good stuff, but that didn't happen. The layout's still a mess. Sometimes that's just the way this hobby goes. But yeah, I figured I'd show you guys what's going on. Excuse the mess. Yeah, there is quite a bit of a mess here. Anyways, my most recent project is I just put in the last large piece of backdrop material here. It does go into a tight radius back there, which matches up with the radius here, if that makes sense. So it's kind of tucked into a corner there up against that wall. And this piece is a little bit shorter than this one. I'm gonna switch my zoom here. There we go. This piece is a little bit shorter, so I will have to go ahead and lengthen it. But basically, the end of both of these backdrop pieces is gonna be right here. So I cut the foam out to go all the way down to the table so that I can figure out how to add some sort of a support, most likely a 1x4 or a 1x3 as I've done for the rest of the supports. The only problem is it's not square to grid. So like I have a rectangular table structure underneath. Need to figure out a nice and sturdy way to mount this final support. There's not going to be anything else continuing this way, but to get this final support right in here. So I think I'm going to use this table side and mounting structure from below as best as I can. And then it's probably still going to want to tip a little bit because of how long it is and both of the pieces of material coming together at the same point. So I probably will actually have to run a couple fasteners up into this duct. I know that's going to be a little bit spongy as is, but I'll probably figure out a way to stiffen it, maybe with an extra plate or something like that. So that's what I got going right now. Basically what it's going to end up looking like is there'll be a whole bunch of puffball trees. All this backdrop will be blue, and it'll kind of go up right here and it'll fade down, and there will be a you won't be able to see directly into the staging yard until you get about here. And there will be, again, a mountain kind of fading down, so you can just see over the mountain into the staging yard. I didn't want to completely block it off from this area of the layout just because I do like that view shooting straight down the tracks, but I also don't want to be able to stand over there in the staging yard and see all of the industry. So trying to balance what looks good, but what also adds a reasonable view blocker. So yep, that's what's going on with the backdrops. Let me see if there's anything else I can show. I'll just do a quick walkthrough or a quick spin around just so you can kind of see what's going on here. So this is the staging yard over here. This is the lift bridge. I believe I showed a little bit about how I made that in a prior video. This is where the coal mine will be. There'll be a scrapyard over here. I did go ahead and do a decent amount of organizing to my rolling stock boxes. These are about 99% of them are empty, but sorted them by manufacturer and kind of pulled out the ones that I knew that I needed to work on or needed to sell. So definitely good to finally get that organized. I used to have these scattered throughout the basement, and it's just good to finally have them all collected in one place. But continuing around the 360-degree tour here, started filling some of the these screw holes in the backdrop. In hindsight, I wouldn't use screws anymore. That's just what my initial method was. There's a pretty big hole to fill when you use these little screws, much bigger than just using brad nails. So definitely use some nice and short brad nails, and don't use the method that I used here for screws if you get the chance. But anyway, started filling some of those holes. The other half of the layout I did switch over to brad nails and and that worked out really well. But this was just my first stab at it a year and a half ago or so. Got some new signage and decorations up here. Not sure exactly where those will go or how I'll hang them, but they're a really good price. And I really wanted to just get the CSX one, but there are about 10 others that came in with it in a lot on Facebook Marketplace, and it was only 20 bucks, so couldn't really pass it up. Got a good amount of prototype photos scattered throughout the layout just for inspiration. Some of the areas that I've either been to or I just found on Google Maps and wanted to kind of recreate the scene or the geography or some certain elements of the photo there. Keep walking, we'll just ignore all the junk here. There's gonna be a little town back here. Chemical industry over here called Tetra Chemicals. A couple industries back along here. That's my cat. And then this is going to be a big kind of what do they call it, an area for negative space. A lot of scenery, maybe a little bit of rocks, but mainly just hills, like you see through most of rural West Virginia, because that's where this the CSX layout is based in the present day. I do have a mock-up for a bridge scene going. I'll move this out real quick. Again, this is just a mock-up. I do have actual bridges that I've purchased to set up here, but just for the time being, I kind of use these old Tyco parts just to kind of space out where my bridge supports were going to be and figure out the ratios and everything. So that's going to be where the river is. It's going to be actually more of a stream, a little bit shallow, just enough to get some kayaks through and have some fishermen along the shores. And then we're passing where there will be an eventual farm scene here. This is one thing that's a bit new. So previously I had all of my rolling stock and locomotives in a whole bunch of different sized rolling plastic storage containers. But recently I went ahead and bit the bullet and bought some flat filing cabinets, and I gotta say this is definitely the move. Would highly recommend this. If you're ever interested, just keep an eye on Facebook Marketplace. You can find them for absolutely dirt cheap if you're not in a rush, as long as you're looking a couple times a week. If you need them in a pinch, though, they are really, really expensive to buy new, and a lot of people want good money for them used as well. So I just happened to come across a good deal, and I would definitely recommend it. So you got room for a whole bunch of locomotives. Got a drawer for all the HO scale vehicles and things like that. I think I threw some coal cars in this one. Tank cars. Some of them I'm able to store on their sides. Others I'm able to store upright. It just depends upon how tall the car is. I will say with some of these flat files, you do have to be careful because the drawers will be just shallower than you would actually want them to be to store your rolling stock or locomotives upright. The reason why I leave a couple inches of space on each side with nothing in it is just because I found that my taller locomotives, if I put them all the way on the outside edge has just a little bit less space than the middle where things have sagged down a little bit. And I found that a couple of the horns were scraping. So if you do get these, definitely take good measurements. I guess locomotives are the big one that you're not going to want to lay on your side. Most of the rest of your rolling stock you probably can, but as long as you're careful and you get one that's deep enough, should work out pretty good. I wish I had done this years ago though, so I was going to go under the lift bridge, but I think we're just going to convert it to a duck under for now because we got local coming through. You can just see into the other room where I've made some changes recently. As you can see, the ballast just peeked out into this this kind of landing area for the staging yard. And then you can see that I am in the process of ripping up some track here because what I'm actually going to do is expand probably from a point over here, about 6 inches or so, just to give myself a little bit more space for storing locomotives and possibly even a little refueling area that'll take tank cars to refuel the locomotives. Also maybe even a sand hopper or two, but kind of got to figure out the space before I go ahead and do that. And I'm starting to take the bases of the different buildings that I'm going to be putting in, and you know, I'm just using for reference. You know, this is the fuel tank that I'm going to be using. This is the yard tower that I want to fit, so I'm trying to figure out where they fit and just moving things along as I go. It was a little bit boring, but it is something kind of important to keep the layout looking fresh. This is a Craftsman stick vacuum. It works off of their V20 battery system. I would definitely recommend it. It was only like 150 bucks on Amazon. I think it's usually 200, but you got your little canister here, which is great for, you know, if you drop something on the floor and you think you might have sucked it up in the vacuum, you can pull this thing out and shake it apart. See if you can find it. Also, it does have a powered beater bar with lights down here, which is really nice for all these little nooks and crannies that I got to vacuum in. It comes with some attachments like most vacuums do that are pretty useful. But the really cool thing about this stick vacuum is that you can break it off at this point or at this point. So you can make it, you know, into a vacuum that'll just be handheld and work on your the top of your benchwork surface, or you can, you know, put the crevice tool on the bottom there and go around and get all the different corners. So really been helpful to keep things clean down here, especially now that I'm making a whole bunch of dust. Coming over here, got a few things I'm going to be selling. Just stuff that really didn't fit my era or that I didn't need anymore. Proto 2000s are excellent, one of my favorite brands, but unfortunately it does take a lot of work to add the extra details and add the room inside with milling the frame and everything to get your speakers in there, as well as your sound decoder or your Keep Alives, whatever. It's usually just, in my experience, it's not really worth it to put all the effort into one of these when, you know, for $75 or $100 more, you can get all of that already done and with a higher detail level. But they certainly are a good value for their money. I thought at one point in time I was going to model NS, so that's why I got all these NS locomotives here. But as you know, this is a CSX layout, so not going to need those anymore. And then coming into the furnace room, cat litter box area, and mainly the staging area, there are a few updates. Definitely still a work in progress. I went through and I kind of laid out the different details and kind of the junk piles that I want to have in this area. Most of them are still just primed. I haven't actually painted them, glued them down, found their final spot, but I wanted to, you know, get them all primed and ready to go so that I can figure out what colors they need to be, where I need to put them, and kind of start bringing the scene together. These magnets that are covered in track nails just represent where I'm going to have a pile of scale track spikes and then scale tie plates. So there are still some details that I need to buy, but I did get the ballast done for all 6 tracks here, and I still need to do some static grass and some scenery and some bushes back here. I got the gravel done in front of the tracks, as you'll see in a lot of maintenance of way areas and things like that. Again, railroads leave a lot of junk all over the place, but I don't want, you know, to just pick whatever I have in my parts bin and throw it on a layout. I want the junk that's there to make sense and to kind of represent what you would actually see along the tracks in West Virginia specifically. Got some of the RPS maintenance of way trucks. I still got to add the CSX decals to that one. And I got some of the new Walthers Proto, I think they're 89-foot flat cars. That's what I'm going to be using for my military train. I suppose I should hop out and show that in a minute. Still a work in progress, but I've got a lot of the vehicles that I need. Working on modifying some of the cars that are in my grain train. I want to get the right mix of grain hoppers that you'd actually see in real life. This is not a train that's specific, the grain train, to West Virginia. You know, they will run grain through there, but usually the Grain Express and these types of cars are seen in a little bit different areas around me in Michigan and whatnot. But just one that I see in real life, and I'd like to model in HO. Here's a collection of cabooses. The B&O one is actually my original caboose for my original train set, so I kind of tweaked that up. It's just an old Athearn blue box, and wanted to have that on the layout ready to go. And then just for the memories. And then recently I got this Operation Lifesaver caboose. That was a pretty good deal on eBay, so I picked that up. And then here we have the recently painted CSX yard office. Still got to figure out the details, glue things in place, you know, do some weathering to the gravel there. I got a picnic table there that I got to paint up, stuff like that. Little details, a lot of that coming together. I did put in some, sorry for the shakiness here, some ballast piles here. So I finally got those glued down. They're not going to blow away when I have, you know, buddies come over to set down their rolling stock or whatever. And then I do have I dull coated this Caterpillar scooper here, you know, put some of the material in there. And then I painted up this operator guy who's got his belly hanging out. So been getting into a little bit of the details, trying not to get bogged down with only building the layout, only working on back chops, only laying track, trying to just mix it up a little bit. This bridge is coming along nicely. I did get the lights working there, and the lights in the barrels and on the street lights working pretty well. I've also got a little scene going here with this billboard. Got some birds there that have been pooping on the billboard, pooping on the Chevy logo there. And then recently I also picked up this, this is an old Crown Victoria police car, but it is a State Patrol of West Virginia specific vehicle made by Bush. So that's fairly accurate to the modern era for this location. But yeah, this room's been coming along good. I'd say it's probably about 80% done. You know, there's a ton of details that I want to add to it, but I do want to get basically all these details painted up, grass, you know, static grass and bushes put in, bridge re-weathered, and then I think the rest of the little details I'll be able to do over time. I'll hop over to the some of the military train details that I've got going, just to show those to you guys. So what do I got here? So I got a whole bunch of these Roco mini tanks vehicles from back in the day. I got a few Abrams, a few Bradleys, and then I was able to find used a lot of these M113s. They're all going to need to be painted, but that's something that I do enjoy doing. Trailers and things like that. This will definitely take time, but like I say, I enjoy it, so give it a couple years. Here's one of the Bradleys that I painted up, and I have the barrel removed and the dust cover on it, as well as the green dust covers in a few other locations. And then I did just a light bit of weathering to, that's not actually the one that I weathered, this one. Did just a little bit of weathering. I want this to be a mixed use military train. I don't want it to just be brand new Bradleys coming from the factory or anything like that. So I want these to show a little bit of age, but still be in good condition because they're in the States, not overseas, of course. So yeah, that's what I got going. Got a few different figures and things like that. Those guys are actually not in my era, but they came with a lot that I bought. Got some state troopers, and then I do want to do a scene of, I love these Prizer figures, some folks getting arrested eventually. So there's a little bit of crime in West Virginia, so I want to try to mimic that. But yeah, overall 2024 was quite a good year for progress on the layout. You know, there's ebbs and flows, of course, with what gets done, and I always wish that I was able to get done more than I actually do, but you know, kind of take that all into account and try to do my best and enjoy the process. And had some really good friends that came over a few times and helped me to finish the first and second main line, so that was absolutely awesome. It's great to be able to run trains down here, have a running session with friends. Obviously all the industries are still missing, right? I just have pictures up there and some track just roughed in of where it would end up, so that's something I hope to accomplish in 2025. But yeah, thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know if you have any suggestions specifically for this back-up support that I'm trying to come up with, or anything else that you're seeing that you think I could benefit from some information, or another YouTuber maybe I could check out their videos. Always trying to learn as I do this, and you know, if there's anything you've seen that I've done that you guys want to see how to do it, feel free to let me know. I'd be more than happy to make a video on it. But thanks for watching.